Ever walk out of a job interview, like, completely unsure what just happened?
Oh, tell me about it.
Like, did they even ask me anything real? Or was it just, like, vibes-based?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so weird to think about how many big decisions ride on those conversations, you know?
It's true, though, like hiring the wrong person.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
Like, it can totally mess things up. It can throw a whole team off.
Totally.
And then on the flip side, imagine missing out on the perfect candidate because the interview just wasn't doing the job, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why I was so into this blog post, Interviewing for Evidence, by Dan North. Have you heard of him?
I have, yeah. He's got a really good handle on the tech world, right?
Yeah, he's been around forever. Like, he's been on both sides of the table.
He gets it.
Hiring, being hired, he gets it. And he's saying what we all kind of know deep down. We got to ditch the gut feelings and make interviews more like, almost like investigations.
Right.
Gathering evidence.
Yeah.
Hard proof. Because otherwise it's just like, I liked them.
Yeah, you get seduced by the charming people who are really good in interviews, but then you get them in and they can't actually deliver.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that because this is so embarrassing, but years ago I made this hire and it was like purely based on good energy.
Oh no.
And it was one of those situations where I look back now and I'm like, oh, I was so naive.
Right.
It was painful. Charm doesn't ship features, you know?
No, it does not. And it's not just about protecting the company, right? It's about fairness to the candidates.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Because if you're just going on a feeling,
Yeah.
how do you even know if you're being, like, fair?
Exactly. Exactly.
So I love that Dan breaks it down into these 4 types of evidence that you're actually looking for in an interview. And the first one, pretty straightforward, right? It's experiential. It's the tell me about a time evidence.
Yeah.
Like, what have you actually done?
It's about getting them to tell the stories.
Yes.
And bring the resume to life, you know? So instead of just saying, I'm a really great problem solver, it's like, okay, tell me about a time you had to solve a really gnarly problem. What'd you do?
Yes. That's so good because it forces them to go beyond just the resume bullet points.
Yeah.
And actually give you, like, the story.
Exactly.
The evidence.
So, like, you're interviewing a software developer and you want to know if they know how to debug, right?
Right.
Instead of just saying, are you good at debugging? Which is just going to be a yes or no.
Total cop-out answer.
Exactly. You could say something like, tell me about the worst bug you ever had to find. Like, where did you even start?
Oh, that's so good.
And then they have to tell you the story.
You get to hear their process.
Right.
You get to hear how they think.
I get to see, like, when the pressure's on, how do they communicate? How do they break down a problem?
That's so much more useful.
Way more useful.
Than like a one-word answer.
Yes.
So we've got that experiential evidence. But what about when someone doesn't have a ton of experience yet?
Yeah,
They're just starting out.
That's where this hypothetical evidence comes in, which is a really interesting concept. Because
Okay.
it's kind of like you're asking them to be a little bit psychic, right?
This is getting good.
It's like, how do you think you would approach this, even if you've never actually done it before?
I like it.
Because everyone's got instincts, right?
True.
And so it's about tapping into those and saying, okay, let's say this happened. What would your first move be?
So instead of saying, what would you do if, which can be kind of overwhelming, you're saying, like, paint them a picture.
Yeah, give them a scenario.
Let's set them a story.
Like a real world, here's the situation, the company's on fire, what do you do?
Right. And how they respond to that, is that where you're starting to see, like, okay, are you a leader?
Exactly.
Are you a follower?
Are you a lone wolf? Are you like a deer in the headlights?
Right. Do you freeze up?
Because that tells you more than just, I'm a team player.
Oh, I know. I'm the best team player.
Right, of course you are.
Everyone says that. Right.
Exactly. But you're looking for, like, what's their instinct?
Their instinct.
Right. And does that instinct fit in with the way this company works or the way this team would work?
Oh, that's good.
And that's valuable evidence.
I love this. This is like, it's like those behavioral interview questions, but like a level deeper.
It is.
It's like future hypothetical behavior.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, like it. So we got those 2 in the bag, right? Experiential, hypothetical.
Yeah.
But what about just straight up credentials?
Yeah.
The stuff on the resume, like degrees, certifications. That's important, right?
It is.
Do you just check the box and move on?
I think a lot of people do.
Like, okay, got the degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it can be more than that, you know?
Okay.
It's like instead of just, do they have the piece of paper? It's, what does that piece of paper tell you?
I like where you're going with this.
Right. So let's say you see a certification on there.
Okay.
And it's a little unusual, right?
Right.
It's not your average, whatever's the obvious one for that field.
Yeah, it's kind of niche.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's your opening
Yeah.
to dig in.
You're like, hey, that's interesting. I've never, that's not one I see every day. Yeah. Tell me, why'd you go for that one?
I love that. It's like
Because then
it unlocks something.
it does a passion project, something they did on the side. Like,
maybe they're obsessed with this one thing
Right.
that nobody else even knows about.
and now you're talking their language.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like it. And sometimes, of course, it is about checking the box, right?
Right.
Like you're not going to hire a brain surgeon who's self-taught from YouTube. You know what I mean?
Probably not a good idea.
There are some things where it's like, yeah, this is non-negotiable. You got to have the credentials. But even then, it can lead to a good conversation.
Totally.
It doesn't have to be just like, yep, check that box, moving on.
So we've covered 3 of the 4 types of evidence.
Yes.
This last one, though, opinion evidence. It's throwing me off a little bit, I got to be honest.
Really?
Because we're moving away from gut feelings.
Yeah.
And now we're saying opinions matter. I'm a little lost.
I get you.
Help me out.
But see, it's not about right or wrong answers with this one.
Okay.
It's how do they think?
How they think. Okay.
Like, how do they form an opinion?
So it's less about agreeing with their opinion
Much less.
and more about seeing how they got there.
Yes. Dan has this great line, he says,
Okay.
strong opinions weakly held.
I like that.
It's like, you want someone who's thought things through.
Right.
They've got a point of view. They're not just wishy-washy.
Yeah.
But they're also not married to it. They can be like, oh, that's interesting. I never thought of it that way.
They're flexible,
Yes.
open-minded.
You want them to be able to, like, have a debate with you, not just, agree with everything.
Right. Nobody wants a yes man.
No, you want that intellectual curiosity.
So how do you even tease that out in an interview, though?
Well, I like to, throw out a bit of a curveball.
Okay.
Something related to their field, but maybe a little controversial, Like, what do you think about the future of AI and software development? Is it going to take our jobs?
Ooh, spicy.
Right?
I like it.
And you see, are they just repeating the headlines they read?
Or do they have actual thoughts?
Exactly.
Right.
Have they, like, sat with it and wrestled with it?
Man, this opinion evidence thing.
Yeah.
It's making me realize how much we miss when we just focus on the skills,
100%.
Like the human element
It's the human element.
is so key.
Are they going to fit in?
Right.
Are they going to be someone you actually want to work with?
Not just can they do the job, but
Yeah, right. Exactly.
will they thrive here? Okay, this is good stuff.
It's the stuff that's hard to put on a resume.
It is. Okay, so now I'm thinking, like, how do I keep track of all this evidence?
Yeah.
Because an interview's happening, there's the pressure, you're trying to be present.
Right.
Am I going to have, like, a spreadsheet open?
Well, luckily, Dan's got a system for that, too.
Oh, good.
He calls it the 4 quadrants.
Oh,
And it's as straightforward as it sounds. Piece of paper,
yeah.
4 boxes, 1 for each type of evidence.
Oh.
So as you go, you're just jotting down little notes.
Okay, so smart.
Yeah.
Because then you're not just, like, at the end going, what was my impression?
Exactly.
You've got the evidence
I
right
made
there.
It got organized.
And it helps you fight that recency bias. Recency bias, that's a good one.
Which is, we all do it.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You remember the last thing?
Yes. Like, if the interview ends on a high note, you're like, they're great.
Exactly. Even if the first half was a train wreck.
You're like, but they redeemed themselves.
Exactly.
The notes don't lie.
The notes don't lie. So that's really key.
Okay, this is so good.
Yeah.
I'm taking notes on this note-taking method.
There you go. I love it.
But he doesn't just leave us there with the note-taking, does he? There's more.
Oh, he keeps going.
Okay.
He's got another little trick up his sleeve. He likes this thing called paired interviewing.
Okay, now we're getting really next level.
I know, right?
2 interviewers.
2 interviewers.
That's intense.
Well, and he actually makes a really good point. Because think about it. If there are 2 of you,
Yeah.
one person can focus on asking.
Uh-huh.
The other person can just observe.
Oh, like a good cop, bad cop situation.
Kind of, but without the bad cop, hopefully.
Okay, good. No good cop, bad cop.
No. It's more like, one person's really paying attention to the body language,
The subtle cues.
the little tells,
Yes.
the things that when you're busy thinking of the next question, you might miss.
Oh, that's happened to me. You're so right.
Right. And then you compare notes afterward.
Okay.
And it can make the whole thing less stressful, honestly.
For everyone.
For everyone. Because, if you blank on a question,
Which I do all the time.
your buddy's got you
Hey,
covered.
jump in. I got this one.
Exactly. So it creates this more natural flow, you know?
It's more human.
It is.
I like it.
It's less like an interrogation and more like a conversation.
Right, which is what you want.
Exactly.
Because you want them to be themselves.
You do.
So they can actually show you who they are.
That's how you're going to get the best evidence.
This is blowing my mind.
Oh.
Like, I feel like we've gone to interview ninja school or something.
I love it.
Dan North, everyone.
She's got some wisdom, that's for sure.
He's changing the game.
Changing the game.
So, what have we learned? We've learned that interviews don't have to be this black box of, like, gut feeling and guesswork.
No.
There's a method here.
There's a method to the madness.
We can gather evidence. We can be objective. We can be fair.
And we can actually enjoy it, right?
Oh, yeah, why not?
It can be a fun process.
It could be a two-way street. I like that you're not just interviewing them.
It's a mutual buying decision.
They're interviewing you, too.
Exactly.
All right, everybody listening, you heard it here first.
Go get 'em.
Go forth and interview with confidence.
Yes.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Wow.